You convert ideas into magic words. How do you get into the minds of people and understand what do they really need?
Because I developed a system for writing sales letters, the greatest copywriting framework of all time ever, because it is. I mean, it's produced $1 billion easily. So I mean, that should just prove everything.
I see a lot of copywriters, especially they are getting scared because of the AI, chat GPT. So many tools are out there right now. Is it a threat or a boon?
It's neither.
Then why are people getting scared?
Because of course they are. People are stupid. And I mean that with love. People are stupid. We're just at a baseline. We are dumb. It's what we are. Myself included, by the way. But let me ask you a really simple question. Is a screwdriver afraid of a drill?
No.
Okay. Why?
Hey everyone, welcome to Breaking Boundaries with Aditi, where we deep dive into the minds of extraordinary individuals who are making a difference in their fields. And I'm your host, Aditi Jain. And today I have the privilege of sitting down with an amazing copywriter and turned into a copywriting mentor, Adil. And he's a billion-dollar copywriter turned copy mentor. He is a conversion consultant and the underground A-list copywriter. For over 15 years, Adil has helped clients generate over $1 billion in sales directly from his copywriting. And to that amount, his consulting clients, copywriting mentees, and students have generated over $1.2 billion in total. And he's written like advertising copies for various great marketing brands, top agencies in the UK and US, like Tony Robbins, and campaigns that have added millions to his clients. And he has the ability to take your thoughts and turn them into magic words. So today we have Adil. Hey Adil, how are you?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. So before we get started, can you tell me a little bit more, since a lot of new audience is watching you right now? Can you tell me a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, so I look really dressed down today, so just please give me a heads up on that. As you said, I've been writing copy since I was 18, so 15-ish years. It's actually a little bit longer than that. I've actually been writing copy since I was 12, so like almost 22 years in the industry, which is quite fun, but mostly unconscious, and then for the last 15 and a half, nearly 16 years. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Sums me up, because like what I do is I've written over 400 plus marketplaces. You've mentioned one or two of my clients, but I've written for practically everyone or consulted them on some level. And yeah, that's basically me. Just a very short form of what it is. So I'm always happy. You guys will get to know me more as we speak about this, because I like to think of advertising more in terms of people, not so much in words and ideation, whatever it is, which is where a lot of people get stuck. They just think about it like, oh, what words are going to do what, but they don't really think about it in the same sense of what etymology is and how certain words have advantages and disadvantages and distance control and everything else. There's just so many nuances to get someone to actually be influenced by whatever perception you're putting. And that's basically it. So like we'll get into all of this and more, I'm sure.
Great. So you just mentioned that, you eventually started like writing copy at the age of 12. I'm really curious, at the age of 12, like I was not even aware of copywriting, honestly.
Oh, neither was I.
And how did you get into this then?
So it's kind of a fun story, because looking back, I can see it, but in the moment it wasn't happening. So I say I went pro at 18. That's actually when I really started paying attention. But from 12 to 18, over that 6-year period, essentially I was writing stories for my dad's company. So I'd write stories for whatever was around. It was an import-export business. So I'd write about his stuff. And it just kind of snowballed. Like he used to use the stuff that I used to write as a way of actually writing promotions for his small business. And then from there, it progressed. Because like my actual goal in life, believe it or not, was I actually wanted to go full-time as a Muay Thai fighter. Like Thai boxing was my life at the time. Stand-up comedy was starting to become a thing that I really enjoyed. Same with music. The last thing that was on my mind was advertising. Like it was the last thing on my mind. But because I'm so focused on how people think and how they act and how they feel and what they do, it became almost second nature for me.
Interesting. So, it's like it's very common. I wanted to become a lawyer when I was like 12 years old, and now I'm a business coach, right? So it is obviously one of, like, it happens really commonly that we are what we think the last thing. And writing high performance ads, and you yourself mentioned that you think of people like as people. You even think of writing it when you're looking at people. So, ads for people like Tony Robbins, it has been an incredible achievement for you. So, first of
That
all,
was a long time ago, though.
I'm
So
really
just to give you a
curious.
good seven,
Uh-huh.
8 years ago, those ads. But I've written for so many other people like Jay Abraham, Jason Hornung, Adam Lyons. There's like a whole group of other people I've worked with because I've worked in 422 different industries. So
Amazing. And
yeah,
uh, in the beginning phase of your career, like how did you start getting these kind of opportunities?
I made them. Honestly, that was the thing that really opened doors for me was I went for it. See, I started off writing mostly for the internet marketing crowd. And then after racking up a few wins, I started to get hired by coaches. I get hired by consultants. I got hired by self-development people. And the reason was there was a group back in the day called the Internet Marketing Super Friends, or IMSF. And I became friends with a lot of people there, and a lot of people started to hire me. And they were in different marketplaces, but every time they hired me, they got a result. Every time they got a result, they'd write about it on this group. Every time they wrote about it in this group, I'd get 3 to 4 new people actually reaching out to me, see if we were a fit. And some people I was too high, some I was too low, like price wise. Um, and some people just didn't, I couldn't do the work. And, I've had my failures. I'll put my hands up. I haven't had a perfect record. I wish I did, but I've had some failures in some markets, which is how I started opening up those opportunities because I never said no. I always tried to figure out what I could do. And if I couldn't deliver, I found a way to make it right for me and that person.
What do you mean you never said no? Like to opportunities like that?
Yeah, like if someone said to me, "Hey, I want to write an ad for this," as long as the money was right and the timing was right and I could feel like I could do it, I'd do it.
Amazing.
But
And
like,
what if you didn't had the skills at the time? Like, will you learn the skills to do it?
how do we don't have the skills?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I've seen a lot of people taking projects because they are seeing money coming in, but they don't know what to do, and they just figure it out later, like after the project's been done.
Kind of not my style. I like to know what I'm doing before I get started because the thing is that stress levels is not something I need.
Yeah.
So what I have done that once or twice in my career, and it's been horrible in response. I've always kind of gone in with the ideation of if I take on a client piece, whatever it is, say it's a sales letter, an email sequence campaign, a VS, a full funnel, whatever it is, I need to know what the market is. I need to know what the project and the product is. I have to know all these little bits and pieces. Now, the thing is, I do have to do a level of research, but for me, it comes down to ethics. If I can ethically look at your business and want to do business with you, I'll do business with you. I will help you out. But if it's a product or a service or something that just doesn't sit right with me, like on a fundamental level, I say I'm sorry. Even if I can do the job, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't want to do it. So that's what I mean by like, I wouldn't say yes to everything. I said everything. I said yes to everything that made sense to me. And as
Amazing.
long as I could deliver on it, which is the big thing. I mean, yes, you can pick up a new skill, but how long before you master that skill? If you end up taking on a client where you said you were going to master a skill and you didn't, then now that becomes a problem.
Awesome. And I've been following you for a while now, and you have this one constant messaging. And I've seen a lot of your podcasts that you keep sharing this one thing that you convert ideas into magic words. Like that's what you
Yes.
keep delivering on a consistent basis. So, how do you do that? For example, if you had to write something for a 24-year-old or something like that, just like how do you get into the minds of people and understand what do they really need?
Okay, so this is quite a very great question, by the way, because very few people have ever asked me on how I actually do it. They ask me like, "Oh my God, you do this." They never ask me how. So how I actually do it is really simple. I'm a study of human nature. I study humans like crazy. I've been journaling for years. I literally make notes upon notes upon notes. And up until about 2 years ago, I found out I was autistic, so it all makes sense. Because I have a really good memory for things. Terrible memory for other things, but really good memory for things when it comes down to this. So what I look at is I go, okay, if I was this type of person at this age, what would I think? Now,
Hmm.
the other advantage I have is I have friends from all ages. I have friends that are young as like my one of my nieces, she's 6. We're the best of friends. I have a friend of my oldest friend is like 80 something. and I pick their brain. Basically, I've got such a wide range of friends I can speak to about different subjects. I see how they respond. I see how they write. I see how they think. And in doing so, I can actually find what that feeling is. And if I can't find it there, I go look at my own journals from that age if I've already lived them. Like 24 is an age I already lived. So I'd go back to 24-year-old me. I was like, what was happening in my life?
Hmm.
This is happening in my life. This is the thought I had. Then I'd call one of my friends, like, hey, do you remember when we were 24? What was going on in your life? They're like, oh, this, that, the other. Like, okay. So contrastingly, 24-year-old Adil was all about business, trying to get himself out there, all this, that, the other. 24-year-old friend was all about surviving, having fun, and finding the purpose of their life. Because they had just come out of university for about 2-3 years. I had been in business for the last 6 at that point. So our lives were in different areas. So I got to see exactly how that world works. And again, the big thing is I don't contain myself into an echo chamber where everyone has the same thoughts and feelings. I combine everyone in my worldview. So even if I disagree with you, I want to know about you so I can understand you. So when I get into that head of that person, that age, and the ideation and what they believe in and what's going on, I can very easily translate my brain and my copy through that lens of life.
Interesting. So, do you have some framework going on? Like, okay, identify this, do this. For example, okay, most of the people watching you right now, they are all, coaches or entrepreneurs, beginner
Yeah.
people. And what
Yeah.
what kind of framework would you suggest to them? When they want to write things on social media in general.
Okay, so this is quite interesting because I developed a system for writing sales letters. It's my 17-point system. It's the copywriter's framework, or the greatest copywriting framework of all time ever, because it is. I mean, it's produced $1 billion easily. So I mean, that should just prove everything. In so many markets. So the framework I have there is all based on conversation. I'm not going to go into it because people pay me for this thing. But it's based on conversation. So you understand how someone starts a conversation, how they continue the conversation, what questions they're asking in their own heads. And once you have this framework, and I'm going to get to your question in a second, or my answer in a second. Basically, once you understand how to write a long form sales letter, and long form doesn't mean you talk for ages and ages and ages. You just cover all the points and you be concise in the of covering it. You basically tell the story as it needs to be told. You take that same process and look at your social media and go, okay, what elements of this need to be over here? Like, do I need to have a catchy headline? What type of story discovery? What parts of the elements do I need to do this? And it builds. So that's the framework for that. Frameworks in like how and there's so many frameworks for different things. Facebook social media posts, they all have their own framework, but it all comes from this emerald tablet of copy that I created. But looking at it more from how do I put this? Looking at this entirely from the frameworks of social media and what people can do to post out there, you want to look at what your audience is already feeling. Does your audience know who you are? Do they like who you are? Do they know who you are? Do they trust who you are? Do they know your knowledge? Do they know, like, and trust your knowledge? Are you in front of the right people? If you're getting very little engagement on posts, then go ahead and ask things that are engagement worthy. And don't be all about business. I mean, you've seen me for a while. If you followed me for a while, you've probably seen I do different types of posts, not on purpose. I ask questions because I myself want to know what my audience is thinking. So asking someone, what's your favorite TV show? What movie are you watching? Have you seen this? Have you done that? It's allowing me to be social on social media, and of course that increases my reach. So
Yeah.
then after I've got a good reaching post, I can post like a business post, and that will get more eyeballs and more views. But
Right.
it's really understanding how you can reach out to people, what you can say to them, and essentially is connecting with them on a deeper emotional level. So the best framework I can give you guys, it's really simple. It's from one of my mentors, John Carlton. And it's a 3-step system. It's who are you, what do you want, and what are you selling?
Amazing. And I
Yeah.
see a lot of people fall into this trap, where they are running this business, any coach or entrepreneur. They are always talking about the how to stuff, like how to do this, how to do that, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And they're not talking about their personality. So I want you to share something about, like, uh, people are social media shy.
Yeah.
They feel like it's just not necessary to put that version out of yourself on social media. So what would you recommend to those people?
Well, it's really simple because you kind of nailed it on the head there. So most people talk about the how, they don't talk about the what. You got to tell them what to do, not how to do it. That's like the big thing. If you can actually tell them what to do and inject your personality into it, have humor. If you read my posts, believe it or not, I read my posts sometimes and I go, why would anyone think I can write? I mean, have you read this? It's garbage. But then I'm like, it's me, because that's how I talk. I talk like that in real life, and my social media is just an extension of who I am.
Hmm.
So if you're shy about sharing who you are, let me ask you a really simple question. What are you passionate about? Like if I sat down in a room with you for 30 minutes and said you can talk to me about literally anything. I'm not talking, you're talking, I'm listening. What could you talk about? Like I'll ask you right now, Aditi, what's something that you can literally talk to me about for 30 minutes without me saying anything?
I think I can talk about movies, I can talk about business, I can talk about marketing.
Right? What
Yeah.
else? Keep going. What other
I can
stuff?
I can talk about a lot of stuff like dancing. I can talk about, so these are all my, okay. So these are the things I just want have to use on social media, right?
But I'm asking you if you could have a conversation with me, and this is the thing. So really big misconception, for me at least. Social media, how would you make friends in real life? You'd find common ground, you'd have a good chat, you'd get to
Yeah.
know each other. Then why are we not doing the same thing on social media? Like I told, it's funny because I spoke about, so I have an absolute love for combat sports. Jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, boxing, kickboxing, MMA, I'm into all of it. Like it's really like my bread and butter stuff that I love doing and stuff that I've been doing for since I was 12 as well, surprisingly. Um, but I wrote a post about one of the best boxing matches of our generation. I'm talking this is like right up there with one of the greatest boxing matches of our generation. I got very little engagement on that publicly. Behind closed doors, I got a lot of messages. So it's just one of those things you get to see what your audience is actually into. If your audience isn't into boxing, which mine isn't, I don't really talk about it with them, but I have groups I can talk to them about. But you're creating a social bond with your audience. So
Right.
find out what it is they like. So if you love talking about movies, talk about how a certain movie inspired you and if there's an idea in there that you're going to apply or why you recommend that movie.
Amazing. That's awesome. So you're saying that, it's more about us deep. So I I really, so yesterday or day before yesterday, I was on my client's group coaching call, and I suddenly remember this because one person asked me that, Aditi, like, I don't know what I should really post on social media, and you just share that what we should really do right now and stuff like that. But is there any exercise that you would recommend for people to find out that what do they relate to? Because a lot of people don't remember, like they just, especially people who are non-marketing background.
Are documenting your life. Honestly, if you have a phone, which most of us do, open up your note file and just make notes and use this one little framework. It's feel, felt, and found. How do you feel about something? How did you, what did you find? What was it that you found out? How did you, what was it like? And how did it, well, it says feel, but like felt. It felt this way. It feels this way. I found this thing. Document those little things throughout the day and you'll start seeing how much of your life you're actually living. For instance, you're on this podcast right now. How do you feel?
I
What
feel
is it you found
excited.
out? Yeah,
Yeah.
what have you found out?
I
What are you
found out
coming
the
in?
framework.
Exactly. And afterwards you felt what?
Yeah.
So you
That,
can talk about that. Again, you just like pick a bit and run with it. It doesn't have to be content, it just has to be what you're talking about. The thing is, we love people because they tell interesting stories. And the way you tell an interesting story is document your life and you'll find literal tons of interest in them.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's great
Yeah,
advice.
there is an actual framework I have called the story selling matrix, which is really easy. Essentially, it's just a series of questions that you ask yourself about what was the thing that basically, what was it, if I remember correctly? What kicked your ass so hard that you had to basically take note of it? And what's your point of no return? Like, what is the thing that you can no longer go backwards on? If you can do those things, you'll have answers to everything. Like, what do I talk about? Talk about any part of your journey.
Amazing. That's awesome. I'll take a note of it. And Adil, can you tell me more about, like your your story in general, because you haven't shared that a lot publicly, because
No.
I saw a lot of your like content and everything on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere, but you don't really talk about your past or your struggles or failures. So why
Oh,
is that?
really? No. No, God, I talk about those all the time. I mean, maybe it might not be as public as it used to be, but there was a time like 2, 3 years ago, I talked about them all the time because I was going through them. Um, and the reason I don't talk about them now, I guess, is because to me, they don't really make a lot of sense. Like, yeah, I struggled, I failed, I had losses. 2020, 2021 was like two of the toughest years I went through because I lost a lot of people in my life.
Mm.
2018, I was this is a story I don't really like to tell much because it was so recent, but like 2018 was the worst financial year I probably had. And the reason, well, one of the reasons being was like the year beforehand, I was on my way to making another six-figure year. It was wonderful, and I was getting closer. And then 2018, halfway through the year, everything bottomed out. Like literally everything bottomed out. I got to a point where I couldn't pay my rent for 6 months, which in a city like London racks up quickly. Like 6 months of no rent in the city I grew up in Leicester, which is, let's say it's like £3,600, so about $4,000. In London, it was 10,000.
Okay.
So like it was a big number of money that I owed my landlord. He was really patient with me, bless him. Jack Galloway is a legend as always. And yeah, I just basically overcame and I ended up signing a huge contract. In the space of 6 weeks, I ended up closing £45,000 or £60,000 of business, $60,000 of business in 6 weeks because it just took that time and everything kind of like subsided out. It was quite easy. But, and here's the big thing I like to tell people, I don't talk about those moments mainly because I don't think there's any value to anyone else but to me about them. But maybe there is, and maybe I'll start talking about those moments as well. Like the times my life basically handed me my own ass, which has happened a fair few times.
6 months without paying rent, I mean, that must be a huge stressful emotional burden on you, right? And
Oh,
a
huge.
lot of entrepreneurs go through these ups and downs in business, where we call the valley of death, that comes along after having big wins inside of your business. So what do you recommend to, like, I want you to share that how, because you've sold a lot of courses, you've sold a lot of like crazy stuff and made a lot of money, and you've seen the grounds as well. So how do you deal when you're at the ground in those situations?
Okay, so me and the ground are very good friends. Let's just put it that way. We're very good friends. So the way I deal with it is I remember a few things. Number one, I look at the things that really matter most to me. So, for instance, I look at it and go, okay, so let's see. I'm trying to ask this question like a really normal way, and I'm trying to think what would be the best way because you've really put me on the spot here. So, okay, how I pick myself back up is I've never really shared this routine. Holy crap. Okay, so I gotta try and like memorize it. So, what I start off with is I realize I listen to Tony Robbins whenever I'm down. And I listen to like there's Personal Power 2, which is one of my favorites. And I start going through the process. I start listening to Tony. I start listening to self-development stuff again. I start getting my brain readjusted. That's number one. Number two, I look at what I'm able to do in the time being. Because everything's within my command, everything's within my control. Okay, how many sales calls am I getting on? Not enough. Okay. How many posts am I doing? Not enough. Okay. I'm doing a load of sales calls, but I'm getting zero sales. What's happening? Okay, look at the numbers. Look at what you're saying. How does my voice sound? Do I sound confident? Do I sound apprehensive? Do I sound desperate or do I sound abundant? Because here's the thing, if you are desperate, you will continue to live in desperation. You have to internalize the idea that you are able and already out of the situation in order to make it happen. It's the reason why when I was mentoring copywriters a lot more in person, one of the things my business partner and I actually harped on about was you have to have about 6 to 12 months worth of savings in your account because it gives you what John Carlton likes to say, fuck you money. And having fuck you money, excuse my language, is quite simply being able to have the money to tell someone to F you. I'm not going to do that work because I don't need to. You're going to
Yeah.
try and lowball me on my price, F you, I can go somewhere else. That level of confidence not only is read by someone else, but allows you to get up. But the key things here, there are 5 areas I look at when I'm down. Number one, where's my head at? Self-development, stuff like that fixes this. Number two, how much fun am I actually having? I know me. If I'm not having fun, my life is in tatters. If I'm having fun, my life is good. So I look at it and go, great, let's go for it. And just a side note on that, one of my mentors, Alex, who's a legend, Alex literally said to me, and he's not a regular mentor, he's just someone I got introduced to that I worked with for about 6 to 8 months. He was wonderful. One thing he said to me that's never stopped being in my head was, there's a version of you out there that is going through the same situation, but he's having way more fun. And then I just think about what version of me would have way more fun in the situation. And I'd embody that, because having fun finds me the way out, because feeling is the secret. The third thing I look at is my food. What is the nutrition I'm putting into my body? Number 4 is my rest. How much am I sleeping? How much am I resting? How much am I doing the activities? And number 5, the most important, how much time am I settling for my health? Because if your health is good, then everything else can actually work off of it. Are you going for walks? Or are you going for walks and stressing out on your walks? The reality is you need to go on your walks to completely de-stress. You got to like do those things, because when you do a stoic walk, which is without any kind of, sorry, I thought I heard my dog. Anyway, if you start going through the process of walking and just do it mindfully without your phone, but if you have your phone, just put on some calming music. If you can do that, I guarantee you'll start to find a way out quickly, because you'll start building your confidence. And this is just a bonus tip. If you're on the ground right now and you can't get back up, because there's so many areas that we looked at, but one of the other ones is confidence. And confidence comes from competence. If you're competent at what you do and you're confident how you do it, it's only a matter of time before it breaks.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, like, you need to be having fun and enjoying something like while doing it, no matter how much money is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day, it might be one of the things where, let's just say you're a coach right now and your services are $1,000 a month, just for easy math, right? But you have 0 clients right now. Here's what you do. You go to previous clients and you ask them if they need your help. Offer them a discount. Look at your people that you've called and said, now is not the good time. Get back in touch with them. Ask them if now is a good time. You got to follow up with the things that are going down. See what your results have been over the last 3 months. Like, what have you done the last 3 months, and how would that impact you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now, speaking of the big elephant, I see a lot of copywriters, especially they are getting scared because of the AI, Chat GPT, Bard, and no matter, like, so many tools
Yeah.
are out there right now, right? So
Yeah.
many of them. And I personally use Chat GPT a lot in my business as well. So, is it a threat or a boon?
It's neither. I mean, okay, here's the thing.
Then why are people getting scared?
Because of course they are. People are stupid. And I mean that with love. People are stupid. We're just at a baseline. We are dumb. It's what we are. Myself included, by the way. But let me ask you a really simple question. Is a screwdriver afraid of a drill?
No,
Okay. Why?
because the drill makes way for the screwdriver. Like, they
No,
both have different purposes.
No, a screwdriver does the same thing as a drill.
Yeah.
It makes a hole. But why is it not afraid? Because it's down to the handyman that basically does the work. ChatGPT and AI is nothing more than a tool for you to make your life easier. Now, people could say, and my friends can argue with me this all day, oh, we don't need copywriters anymore. Oh, we don't need copywriters anymore. Yeah, you don't need writers anymore. But you do need a copywriter, because here's what a copywriter really is. And this is why I don't respect most copywriters that came up in the last 6-7 years. I just don't. They don't know how to create offers. They don't know how to do marketing. They don't understand the deeper psychology. They don't understand sales. They don't understand market. They don't understand how to put together funnels. They don't understand how to put up a product sequence. They don't know how to write a narrative. There's so many different elements out here they don't understand. When I work with a client, I figure out all their stuff. One of my last clients I had last year, it's a company that serves 8-figure plus companies in e-com. I basically redid their sales letter. I went through their entire process of selling. I got on sales calls with them to basically make sure they were selling correctly. I made sure their emails were on point. I made sure every single aspect of what they were doing was perfect. To the point right now, to this day, it's almost a year later, they're still running the same stuff and they're still making a crap load of money. I have a testimonial from him, and it's wonderful. Now, that's the beauty. Take that and extrapolate it to the average person. That's me. Let's take it to the average person. The average copywriter, business owner, whatever it is, you can use ChatGPT or any AI software out there, and you'll get a solid first draft. But let me ask you, when was the last time you ran an ad on your first draft?
Yeah.
Only very few people do. I write one draft copy and I'm done, but usually I need 2 or 3. Even my sales letter that's currently on my website selling my lowest $100 course there is, that right there took me 5 attempts to write. I got the first bare bones down, and then I had a couple of my friends go through it, and then we had a piece going. What I'm saying to you is AI will start you, but you need to finish. You can polish off what it writes and it will work great. So don't be afraid.
So
Don't be
what's the
afraid, because
best?
people.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're saying what's the best?
No, I was just like, I just got curious. Like, then what's the best way to incorporate AI and not being like, because I see a lot of copy that's been generated by AI is like crap, literally.
Yeah, it
It's
is. They
not
don't
good.
have there's no emotion to it.
Yeah. So
So what you do is you
what's
get the
best
first
way
draft.
to? Hmm.
So get the first draft written, and then you go through it and edit it, or get your copywriter to go through it and edit it. Because the editing is where you feel all the humanness come in.
And it's important to add that human touch, right?
100%. People buy from people.
Yeah. Awesome. And before we hop off, like what are the top 3 things you would say to any marketer, copywriter, entrepreneur to attract more people through their social media copies?
It's not just their social media, but all their copy should be attractive. So let me get this straight. What are 3 things I would advise people to do to get more people engaged, right?
Yeah.
Number 1, figure out your authenticity. And what I mean by authenticity, write about who you are, what you do, why you're here, and everything else in between. It's a bit of a long exercise. And my buddy Ben actually was the one that put me into this, quite simply. He basically said you need to write down, and by the way, this will help you if you ever get your ass kicked emotionally by life and you're on the ground. Pull this out, read it again. Write out and read who you are, what you have done, how you got to where you are, and what happens next. Once you understand the authenticity of what you believe in and how you got there and everything else, it makes it easier to communicate. That's number 1. Number 2, always be marketing. If you're not selling something, pre-sell it. If you're selling something, sell it. If you have an idea, talk about it. If you're shit posting, then shit post. The idea is you're keeping front of mind with your audience. Never go silent. Have conversations with people. Let them know what's happening. Talk to people. See what's going on. Go back and forth. Ask people to mail you the best questions. And the third thing I'd say, there is a bonus 4th thing, which we're going to cover first. The bonus 4th thing is don't be arrogant.
Yeah.
Never be arrogant. Always remember that you're just human and people just want to get to know you. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, literally, if you are who you are and your entire purpose in life is to help others, be open to like people, because you never know who might walk across your door and who you might help, which is amazing. And number 3, which I know we went 1, 2, 4, and now we're at 3. So the third thing that I tell you that's most important thing that you can really do is, there's actually 2 more points here. Okay, we'll go with this one. Consume fiction, which sounds really counterintuitive because a lot of people are like, don't watch TV, don't do this, don't do that. Yeah, don't watch bad TV. Watch fiction. Read fiction. Consume it, because here's the thing. If the world is engaged in something, you can tap into it and move away. I'll give you an example. You've heard the game Monopoly, right? You've heard of the game Monopoly?
Yeah.
And you've heard of Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know there's a Game of Thrones Monopoly?
No.
Yeah, it's huge. There's like a whole Monopoly game that's based on the Game of Thrones series. Works wonderfully. I tell people, if you didn't watch Game of Thrones, you are missing out on one of the greatest TV phenomenons there is, because they had so many viewers.
Yeah.
Why would you not figure out what they're doing to attract a huge audience and replicate it in your own industry? You don't need the full pie to make it the same way. You just need a small slice.
So
So that'll be it.
how do you replicate that? For example, someone's watched Game of Thrones, or these popular TV shows like Friends, or
Yeah,
sitcoms that people binge watch on. How do you take something from it and replicate it in your industry?
it depends how you're going to do it. Like I talk about this in a lot of detail with like other stuff that I do, which is quite simply. Let's say I was let's say Game of Thrones, right? Game of Thrones is a perfect example. I'm sending out an email. Um, and the subject line is something along the lines of making a play for the throne, dot dot dot. It's like Jon Snow has nothing on me, or something like that. And the whole email will go into say, hey, it's Adil. I'm gonna tell you in a moment. I'm letting you know now that I'm going for the throne. What throne? The throne of the greatest. Why? Because I want to make sure that you never forget who I am and what I do and blah 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 blah. And then I'd say, much like Jon Snow, I never wanted the authority. In fact, every time I've rejected a title, I've been given a bigger title. And now I actually have the ambition to go for the throne. The reason I have is quite simple. Number one, I know I can bring peace to the BS in my industry. Number two, I know I can be the authority that helps people. And number three, I completely know in my heart of hearts that it will benefit everyone else for the greater. Why? I have no desire for power. What I have a desire for is balance.
That was incredible.
So here's what I would tell you to do next. If you want to bring back balance into your advertising, into your email writing in a way that generates a lot of companionship, a lot of brotherhood, then go check out my course because I'll share everything about how I'm taking over the throne and how you can essentially do the same in your industry.
That was incredible. Really.
This
Amazing.
is like a made up email, by the way. I've never sent this email, but like this is what I mean. You do so
Yeah.
many things. One of my favorite emails I've ever written in my life. Thank you, by the way. I forgot to mention. You gave me a compliment. I have to thank people. I always forget sometimes. One of the emails I've written years ago was the subject line was Igor get the switch, or Igor flip the switch. And the whole thing was how Dr. Frankenstein was actually just trying to prolong people's lives. And instead, he ended up being accused of being a grave robber and this horrible human being and yada, yada, yada. But the reality was, because of what he had done, he created Frankenstein's monster. The funny thing is, you currently have Frankenstein's monster in front of you reading this email on it. If you want, you can turn what I'm showing, you can turn this machine in front of you into an ATM that prints money on demand. Let me show you how to do that. Click here to find out more.
Amazing. And how often do you recommend? So let's say, if you turn on, like, go towards the logistic part, if you're sending out like 6 emails a week, how often do you recommend this style of email going out?
However often you want, really. But you have to make sure that you switch it up. This is the problem people have. They write in one style and they think that style is going to work forever. No, there's technically 7 styles of story, but there are 28 variations in total. So you have the north, south, east, west. Those are the 4 different types of story, and then there's the 7 styles. What was it? Journey and voyage. There's hometown boy does good. There's the hero's journey. There's adventure. There's love and comedy, and I can't remember the others. A few are messing up, but like there's quite a few of them. And you just basically tailor your emails based on these.
And someone's in the comments asking right now that if we want to learn more about it, how can we get in touch about that? Do you have a book or
Particularly
something?
I do not have a book. I'm working on a book right now, but the best thing you guys can do is if you head on over to greatestcopywriteralive.com/welcome-sequence. It's my $97 product, but essentially it tells you how to write one of the greatest welcome sequences out there because we cover 3 different styles of email, but we also show you how to, when someone joins your mailing list, how to qualify them, opt them in, and everything else. And by the way, this doesn't just mean when you have a freebie. If someone hires you, if someone works with you, if someone buys from you, you can create the same email sequence that goes out to them, that builds an emotional relationship with them and gets them to actually work with you on a deeper, more emotional level.
Awesome.
Really down to it.
Great.
I mean, this is stuff I'm implementing in my own business. So like, hey, I taught this, I'm implementing it in my own stuff. So it's going to take a moment of transition. But yeah, This stuff works wonderfully for and has done for multiple of my clients in different places. But if you want to find out more about me or whatever it is, hit me up on Instagram at Adil Amarsi. Is You'll find me. You'll literally find me on
Yeah.
Instagram. I know people add me on Facebook. Guys, I have a cap on Facebook, so I can't accept too many people. If you're on Instagram, you can message me right away and I'll respond back.
Yeah. That's amazing. So I'll post your Instagram handle in the comment section so everyone can reach out to you.
Yeah.
And the last segment that we just did, it was an eye opener for me, especially how can we incorporate what we like into
Yeah.
our copywriting and eventually use that to attract more eyeballs. That is incredible.
You're welcome.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Adil, for joining us. And I had a great time. The audience is loving it. And we have one more question for you. So Rohit asks that, hi Adil, how can someone improve their copywriting skills, or any book or suggestions for copywriting that you would recommend?
Okay, so let's see. It depends on budget. I always tell people join my mailing list, get on my list, whatever it is. Again, I'm going to be writing way more posts on greatestcopywriterforlife.com because it is a blog at the end of the day. But, and this is a big one, but how do I put this? If you've only got $20 to your name, if you've only got $20, I would recommend trying to get a copy of Kick-Ass Secrets of a Marketing Rebel by John Carlton. It's probably it's a course that's about 20 years old, give or take. But the principles of copywriting are timeless. And this is just a great way to begin it. So that's what I would recommend that you do. It's a great way of basically getting that sorted. To begin with is go with John Carlton stuff. And here's the thing, you want to look at it for the person that can actually best relate to you on those things. So my stuff, obviously, as I said, if you have $100, tell you to get on my mailing list, buy the damn course because it will be massively successful and helpful for you in what you do, because there are two versions that you're getting. Version 1 is 40 minutes long, covers the 7 email sequence. Sorry, that's version 2. Version 1 covers the same stuff, but it's about 10 times longer, because each class was an hour long. There were Q&As. There were so many other things as well. So you guys can see all of that. But right now, I'd say the best place that you guys can actually pick stuff up is probably John Carlton's course, Kick-Ass Secrets of a Marketing Rebel, which is $20, I believe. Then you have mine. You can also check out the GaryHalbertLetter.com, which is an old school website, but it still works because Gary is and was a legend. So but I am working on.
I had a really fun time and great insights from you, especially when it came to copywriting. And thank you so much for joining us at Breaking Boundaries with Aditi and sharing your story, Adil.